Well, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're having a great day thus far. And it's always nice to say hello to a few friends before we get started. So let's do that as you get your notifications here. And we always love having you come on live if you can. We understand a lot of folks can't make these lives. And of course, we turn them into podcasts, and we appreciate all the feedback we get from you wonderful folks. Jose and Mark, how are you? Right from Werner. And Fran, how are you? And Jocelyn from Baxter. Yvonne, how are you? And Donna, good to have you on. Rain Cloud from Michigan. And Nativity. And Barbara from Kansas, and Lizette from Nouveau Brunswick, Cecilia Shedziak, Nouveau Brunswick, Giovanna, how are you? Nick from our staff, Wanda, how are you doing? And Rabini, and Donna, and Kristen, how are you? Faye, nice to have you on with us. Diane Thunder Bay. And Fran from Orangeville. Wendy, London. And Sherry. Oh, I want to sing. Madeleine, how are you? And Carol from Mount Pearl, Newfoundland. And Danny, good afternoon. Nellie, okay. Chantal, Ottawa. And Lorraine, good afternoon. Cynthia, nice to have you on with us. And another Donna. We love our Donnas, don't we? Mary and Sue, how are you? Marlene, okay, a couple of more guys and we'll get going. Vince, how is you? Maria, and good day. Jocelyn. I was reading Jeanette, how are you, from our staff? Okay. And Wendy, I missed you. Giovanna and Darlene from Saskatchewan. Joan, PG, and Rita, nice to have you on. Joanne from Berks Falls, and Debbie. Two more. Annette, ça va bien, Annette. And Tina. Okay, thanks, guys. Thank you very much. Okay, I got to tell you we're going to talk about something we talked about many, many a times. One of my favorite vitamins is vitamin B12. I talk to you about that all the time because it's the deficiency in vitamin B12 is rampant. It's rampant. And it's terrible. People are not getting enough B12, and two new studies talk about this. How nobody seems to be overly concerned, and they should be. As a matter of fact, you need optimized B12 levels to function properly. Listen to these couple of studies that talked about you can't have a healthy nervous system unless you have optimized B12 numbers. Okay, now let me give it to you here. Okay, your numbers should be okay, and this is where I like them. And research now is really starting to bear this out that I'm right about this. You want your B12 to be above 800 pg/ml. Okay, so it's the same number in Canada and the United States, the way they measure it. Okay, some things are different between blood work in the two countries, but not vitamin B12. Should be, just look at the number, and it should be 800 or above. Okay, if you are not there, listen to what they say. Okay, this is two new studies. One is talking about nerve damage. If you're below 475, now let me just look this up, okay? Because it's been so long since, let me just get this for you. You could do this quickly, but I just want to get you when they talk about normal B12 levels. Let me just see here. Okay. Overview. And what are the numbers here? Okay. I got everything else but. Okay. I think it's 200. Okay. That, let me just get deficiencies. Okay. It's below, what is, because I got two of them saying two different things here. Let me just see. B12 blood work. Okay, let's see if that brings it up. What should your B12 levels be? Between 200, okay, between 200 and 900, okay, considered normal. I've seen it. A threshold of about 300 to 350 pg/ml is recognized as a marker for desirable status in elderly. My word, they're way off. It should be above 800. 200 is for mice. Now listen. Listen to what these two studies said. If it's less than 475, there's a possibility of permanent nerve damage. Brand new study, hot off the press. Permanent nerve damage at less than 475. Okay, now I know you guys know this because I talk about it all the time. A lot of doctors don't even take a B12 in blood work. They don't even do it routinely. It's essential that you do it routinely. Okay? Always ask your doctor, make sure, I want to know what my B12 status is, and I want to know what my vitamin D status is. Now, they might fight you on vitamin D, but they shouldn't fight you on B12. Okay, but insist on it. I want my B12. Because listen to what they're saying. Numbers less than 475 pg/ml can cause permanent nerve damage, neuropathy. Less than 550, okay, this is a second study, shows that you do not have enough B12 in your cerebral spinal fluid. You need to be above 550. And optimized B12 is above 800. And I like the sweet spot between 800 and 1200 pg/ml. Now, listen, there's people that get uptight about high B12. And I sort of just say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. First of all, B12 is a water-soluble vitamin. So you have high B12. What's that mean? Okay? Now, I'm not saying that I like it above 1200. I really like the sweet spot. That's where I live. I live in sweet spots for your blood work. I like sweet spots, and 800 to 1200 pg/ml is where I like to see your B12. That's when your body, your brain, your nervous system, your metabolism thrives, is in those, between those two numbers. If you're above it, But if you're below it, you need to be looking at B12, okay? Now, what causes, why do we see so much, like I said, the word rampant low levels of B12. Why is it today that it's rampant? It's part of North Americans. They walk around and there's no little red light on their head telling them that their B12 is low, and a vast majority of people have no idea. So let's ask the question, why do we see so much B12 deficiency? Why? Why? Okay, let me give you several reasons. The top reason is because today people have bought the nonsense about red meat. For 40 years or more, people have been cutting back on red meat. Consumption of red meat is down 30% from the 1980s. Because you have these documentaries, you have all these gurus, you have all these so-called nutritional experts and whatever, and they're talking about, well, red meat is bad. Now, folks, if you don't eat red meat, I'm sorry, you're not getting B12 in your food, okay? I've heard of nutritional yeast and this kind of thing, brewer's yeast and all that, but it's not bioavailable, guys. God has given you B12 in red meat. How could God, give us a vitamin that's only found in red meat? It's not found in the plant kingdom. And he gives us B12 and then he says, oh, by the way, don't eat it because it's bad for you. Like, guys, come on. Think about that for a minute. And there's a war, like, on the weekend, somebody posted something about vitamin D and B12, and, I sometimes get a little emotional. I don't know if I use the word emotional. I get excited because it bugs me that that's still out there. There's a war on vitamin D, but there's also a war on red meat. So the number one reason there's such a deficiency in B12. Now remember, your nervous system cannot work properly without B12. If you know a vegetarian, if you know a vegan, if you know anybody that just doesn't eat red meat, and some people can't even digest it, okay, well then you need to supplement. You need B12, and we'll talk about how much you need, okay? I promise we'll get to that. What are the reasons? Number one, the propaganda against red meat. Red meat causes cancer. Red meat's too much protein, and that's hard on your kidneys. Red meat is rot. I heard one this weekend. Red meat rots in your gut. No, it doesn't. Red meat doesn't rot in your gut. Red meat is absorbed in your small intestine. You know what rots in your gut? About 100 vegetables that I know that rot in your gut. Red meat don't rot in your gut. Okay? Your body needs it. It's so nutrient dense. Your body says, hey, goody gumdrops. This is what I need. And all your B vitamins and your K2 and all your amino acids and all of that is in your red meat. Why the heck wouldn't you want to eat that stuff? Anyway, okay, number one reason. Why are they low in B12? Number one reason, they don't eat enough red meat. It's simple as that. Number two, the second reason is medications. Like 60, 70% of the population, especially elderly, they're like anybody over 60, anybody over 50, really. Almost everybody is on some type of medication, whether it's statin drugs or metformin for diabetes or Prilosec for acid reflux, or whatever it is, any medication, I mean it, guys, any medication. I just can't think of any birth control. They put girls on birth control pills. And without even, what side effects are there? Well, it just takes away B12 from the body. I mean, you know what bugs me too is pharmacists. Like, you should be studying this stuff. If someone is on metformin, you should be giving them B12. Don't let them leave the pharmacy without it. And don't give them the bad B12. We'll talk about that in a minute. Okay, any medication. You're going to be deficient in vitamin B12 almost without exception, guys. And metformin being the worst of it. And you know, metformin is like a designer drug. You know, metformin, oh, it is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You know, diabetics and, you know, now they got these designer weight loss drugs that were meant for diabetes, you know, like Wegovy and others. Yeah, but it knocks the B12 out of it knocks the stuffing out of your B12. Knocks the stuffing out of it. Any person with low stomach acid. You got acid reflux? Ugh, acid reflux. Well, use it or lose it. If you don't eat red meat, your stomach acid, which is supposed to be more acidic than a lion, will start to rise. You don't want your stomach acid to rise, meaning becoming more alkaline. You don't want that. You want your stomach to be the most acidic place in your body. And you need it because that's what it takes to break down food, my friend, especially meat. But if you don't use it, you lose it. I've taught you that time and time again. That's why people, when they go on the reset and they start eating eggs, meat, and cheese, they find their digestive tract is better. They find their acidity goes away. One of the worst things to make you more alkaline in your stomach, and you don't want that, is sugar. Sugar makes you alkaline in your stomach. You don't want that. You want acidity in your stomach for several reasons. Yes, to break down food properly, protein especially. You need very, very acidic stomach. But that acidity in your stomach is one of your best defenses against bacteria like H. pylori and C. difficile and others. Why do you think we have so many bacteria that are resistant today? One of the reasons we don't have enough acidity in our stomachs. Low stomach acid, number 2. Any digestive issue, okay? Because if you got low stomach acid, you're not making the intrinsic factor, which is important for B12 absorption. Any digestive trouble. If you got any digestive trouble, can I just give you a hint? Take B12 as a supplement. Take it. You got IBS, you got IBD, you got Crohn's, you got ulcerative colitis, you got SIBO, you got diverticulosis. Well, then you get on and make sure that you're on B12. I will tell you the best form in a minute. Any digestive order. People that have a gastric bypass. I saw hundreds and hundreds of patients over the years, gastric bypasses. Man, I used to tell them, they come in and they look like Casper the Ghost. You know? And no one told them. I said, well, are you not getting B12? No. Are you kidding me? With a gastric bypass, you have no ability to absorb B12. None. Nada. Zero. Your doctor didn't talk to you about B12? Nah. Man, doctors are poorly trained when it comes to vitamins these days. It wasn't like that in the 1950s. Every physician worth their salt in the 1950s and 60s, you remember house calls? You know, the physicians, the family doctor did a house call. He had B12 in his doctor's bag. Anywho, let me give you some symptoms. Okay, let me give you some symptoms. These are symptoms of low B12, okay? Nothing new under the sun when it comes to this, but I want to go over them anyway. Tired. I'm tired, doc. I'm tired. Better look at B12. Would sure like to know your numbers. Pale. Okay? You look like Casper, the ghost. There's a good chance you're anemic. Okay? You're a good chance you're anemic. Any kind of tingling in your fingers, in your toes, paresthesia around your mouth, like funny feeling or even tongue. I used to get people to stick their tongue out at me. I said, how does that feel? Well, it feels good. I'm sticking my tongue out at you, Dr. Martin. No, you know what I'm doing? I'm looking at your tongue. You know, you got a smooth tongue. A lot of times that's a sign of low B12, but anything around the mouth, even eyes, vision changes. B12 is essential for the eyes. Cloudy vision, just don't see as well as you used to. A lot of times that's a vitamin problem. B12 can be yawning all the time. You're sucking for air during the day. I'm telling you, folks, that's a B12 problem. Yawning. Mood changes. Depression. I'll bring you something this week, a new study on vitamin D done with the U.S. veterans. Vitamin D wins again, guys. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Vitamin D wins again. And they're just, vitamin D. You know, now they're trying to get, you know what? Nobody's died from too much vitamin D. Not a person, not one, not ever. I mean, you can actually read about people dying from drinking too much water. Okay? It can happen. I'm not saying it happens often, but once a year or whatever, you know, they drank too much water and they died. But you'll never hear about vitamin D in death. You just won't. Okay? And if you leave it up to the powers to be, they'd have it outlawed unless they give it out. Big pharma. Tingling, depression, mood changes. Anemia, any kind, even iron deficiency, whatever. I always used to give my patients B12 too. It makes red blood cells. You need red blood cells. What's so special about the blood? Red blood cells carry your oxygen and their waste management too. Guys, you need red blood cells. And you can't make them if you don't have enough B12. Okay, so what do we do? Okay, what do we do? Look, this is a fact, guys. Okay, this is a fact. The best B12 is methylcobalamin. Methyl. Look for that word in the front of it. Okay? Not methylcobalamin. The best way to take B12 is a sublingual, under the tongue, let it melt in there. That's the best B12 on the planet. It's even better than a B12 shot. Okay? It's even better than a B12 shot. And by the way, I didn't even say this. One of the problems, and if you ever heard of the Bernstein weight loss clinic, he used to bring this up because he had a weight loss clinic that only lets you eat 600 calories, and then they give you a B12 shot every week, okay? And the B12 shot, because it helped your metabolism, was part of their protocol for weight loss. But I'm going to tell you something. When you have extra weight on, B12 is essential to lose that fat. Okay? B12 is essential. So you get a methylcobalamin, you put it under your tongue, you let it melt. I take one every day. Hey, I'm 72 years old. You know what that means? Things don't work like they used to. Okay? Like, I'm really into anti-aging, but guess what? Okay? You don't absorb B12 like I used to. I still, I have my numbers checked, and I check and I go, I'm not optimized the way I should be. I take B12 every day to get those numbers cranked up. Take it under my tongue. It's the best way. It's even better. It's better for you if you do it that way. Now, if you take B12 shots, good for you. I got no problem with them, but it's not the best way. We thought it used to be the best way because you can't just take a B12 or a B complex and swallow it and then think you're getting B12. You're not. You don't. It has to be sublingual so that it goes right into your bloodstream. It passes, it's like Monopoly, passes go. And gets to its intended destination. If you swallow it, not happening. Okay? And I recommend, like if you got low levels, you're in the 200s, I would recommend that you take about 8,000 micrograms a day for a good month until those blood levels go up. Remember, 475 and lower, you could have permanent nerve damage. And what was the other number? 550, your brain don't have enough B12. Under 550, that's 90% of the population. Their brain isn't going to work properly. No wonder we see so much Alzheimer's and dementia and nerve problems and craziness. Low B12. Okay. Did I miss anything? When in doubt, take it. It ain't going to hurt you. When in doubt, take B12 as a supplement. It's an essential vitamin. You know me and my vitamins. Vitamin D and B12. If I could get into every senior's home, I bring 2 vitamins with me. Well, I bring maybe more than 2, but 2 for sure. I bring B12 and vitamin D. They're low in it, almost invariably. Yeah. Okay, guys, we're going to do a morning session tomorrow. Okay, we do a morning session tomorrow. Get your questions in for Question and Answer Friday. Have I told you lately how much I love you guys? Thank you for being the best audience in the podcast world. There's no better audience than my audience. The Martin Clinic, thanks for joining the private Facebook group and yada, yada, yada. You guys are wonderful. Thanks for being our friends at Martin Clinic. We love you. We'll talk to you soon.